My Own Garms.
What is happening, my mates? I'm Thomas Griffin. This is My Own Garms. Our guest this week is Luke Butler, and I fucking love this dude. Luke is a super thoughtful, adventure-minded content creator who loves his clothes. I've met him a handful of times in real life, but we've been chatting about Garms on the internet for ages now. He works predominantly in the kind of cool, outdoorsy type sector, collaborating on content with brands like Cotopaxi, Size, Carrier Goods, and loads more. He's got a real solid eye for what people and brands want to see online, and is, in my opinion, one of the most coherent, mindful, and fun wearers of Garms on my IG feed. If this ep tickles your tummy, then please send it to a pal. It'd be massively helpful for us. Big thanks to everyone who's helped us so far. We are massively in your debt. Right, let's crack on. This is My Own Garms with Luke Butler. Luke, welcome to My Own Garms.
Thanks for having me, mate.
How have you been?
Good, yeah.
Wet,
a little damp, yeah.
What happened? You ran from work and got caught in a storm?
But we were saying, sometimes when you wear Gore-Tex coats, you got to do Gore-Tex things.
Indeed, mate.
Yeah.
You got to walk the walk.
Exactly.
So let me start off with this question. You are a well-travelled individual. Have you been away anywhere nice recently? Because it seems like your excursions to the far corners of the UK and probably Europe are getting a little more frequent. So have you been on any excursions recently? Yeah,
so recently I've been kind of up and down to the lakes and Wales on these kind of camping trips. The other day I just went on my own solo. I hitched a ride up with Amber, my girlfriend, to Sheffield, and then I just got the train up to the lakes from there without a car, so I just had to do everything kind of on foot and get as far as I could, really, like on public transport and stuff like that, which was quite a challenge in itself. I just did a bit of solo wild camping just to sort of clear the head. And then the other day I was out with Amber in Wales, kind of doing a late winter wild camp as well, up in just outside Ogwen Valley.
Yeah.
Just outside Bethesda.
That's like the Slate Mine region, isn't it? Fucking stunning, man.
Just
so
outside
beautiful.
the valley. It's beautiful.
The blue of that water that you get in that mine is just like...
is it the slate that does that?
It must be some kind of mineral compound that changes it, because I've seen it. In fact, I went walking up there myself a couple of weeks back, and even the streams that run in at the side have got that like turquoisey, topazzy tinge to them. Yeah, it's sick, man. So beautiful. Looks great on pictures as well.
But I feel like I've created a bit of a rod for my own back, because I'm styling myself this kind of outdoor fashion guy, and I live like 2-hour drive from any kind of peaks or nature. But I still try and get out at least once a month, even in the winter months.
When it is more difficult to motivate yourself to do it.
It is. I think once you've got the kit and you've invested in enough stuff to keep you warm, that's one thing. But then it's like you get to 4:00 and it's getting dark, and it's like, what am I going to do with my evening? You can't start a fire. So like...
You fucking can, man. Well... On the DL?
Yeah.
I know what you mean, though. You're not meant to.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to put that on the gram. I'd get a lot of stick for that.
Yeah.
Because it goes against, leave no trace.
I went out wild camping, lit a fire. The fire didn't burn down the entire side of a hill, but the next day, the entire side of the hill that I was on did burn down. And I was looking, I was like, fuck, man, was that me? I was like, it definitely wasn't me. I definitely put it out. But I'd put it on the gram because I don't really care, to be honest.
I'd do it if I was like secluded away in a wood or something, but like probably not on the hills.
On the moor.
It's just setting a bad example. I
love bad examples.
Yeah.
I've not done a proper Lake District wild camp, but my ideal is being on one of those like stony tarn beaches and having a kind of like on the rocks beach fire. I think that's an archetypal camp dream that I've had for a long time. Or even on an island in the middle of the lakes.
Yes.
That'd be incredible.
I was almost in that situation the other day where it's like a peninsula that went out. But it was like, I love how sort of naturally short all the grass is. It becomes really mossy, and it's almost like a putting green. It's super smooth.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful, man. You paint a good picture with your words, Luke. Your IG is popping off at the moment. Like the last year or so, what have you, 2x'd in a year maybe?
Yeah. Ish? I think it's been, it's certainly been in the last year, things have gone a bit gone a bit mad.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's consistent, high quality garment-related output. The pics are always fire. The captions are even more so, I'd say.
Thank you.
But it looks like you're working with some amazing brands now. Tell us a little bit more about that.
I've been posting about clothes and stuff like that from the jump, since like 2014, since I got Instagram. But there was never any like content strategy behind it. I never had the idea to just like, if I'd have just got a camera or something and invested in some kit and thought, I'm going to do this like as a blog or whatever, then maybe I would have sort of seen some kind of traction. But I wasn't really in that mode. Like, did
that mode even exist at that time? Was there people it's kind of proto-influencer era,
that's it. But like blogs were a thing. Influencers, no. People weren't getting paid to like post about stuff, and
it was pure passion project. You kind of
there were so many people that I were following at that time that were like, I don't know, just like to post their jeans or whatever. It was like you say, a passion project. But it's only been in the last year that like the brands have started getting involved, and I think that was when I was kind of posting more in the outdoor space. Yeah, because I think they saw that there was a bit of a movement happening there, and they wanted to be part of that. About a year ago, there was much more of a sort of a community aspect of sharing your adventures, and there was a lot of accounts kind of featuring people, and that helped you kind of discover other like-minded people as well. Yeah, I think that definitely did it. That me kind of venturing into that world a little bit.
And what brands specifically came a knocking? What felt like a big thing for you? Which brand that came along and said, we want you to do something for us?
It didn't matter who it was. If anyone was gonna get into my DMs at that point, that was huge. I think Columbia were the first one. And I got to admit, actually, I turned them down the first time. I can't really remember why. I can't remember what they were offering. I don't know whether it was a kind of a gifting thing, but maybe I was just a little shook by it.
Yeah, it just felt a bit too fresh, like.
Yeah, but I just started saying yes more, and kind of saying yes to everything.
I think as soon as brands see that you are the guy to go to for that, and the quality of the stuff that you put out, it becomes a more appealing collaboration.
Yeah, I've addressed, the thought that, as soon as you start working with brands, like, what are you selling out or whatever? But it's like, what do you have to sell in the first place? Do you know what I mean? It's like, I've been posting about clothes and giving brands free promo for the best part of 10 years. So why not? When they start getting in touch, why not start doing it? But yeah, I think it was Crag Hoppers that first reached out and then just offered me and Amber free reign of the Crag Hoppers website.
It's ace to see. I love it when you go on adventures with Amber. It's dead cute. Like, there's a few kind of outdoor power couples about it, But I think that's a particularly marketable thing.
But the cliche is the kind of like wanderlust.
Hashtag
wanderlust, holding hands.
Have you ever done the dirty dancing
stick.
lift on the beach?
So all that. Filming me doing backflips and
can you
skinny dipping? No. So I've always wanted to kind of avoid that slightly corny, using like library music and jingly jangly ukulele.
Song selection is always on point, by the way. Like, I do enjoy the juxtaposition of the outdoors with the kind of, we've talked about burial before. What a soundtrack to anything.
Sometimes it's like, it depends on the mood.
Let me tell you one that really, really affected me. When you went to the Dolomites, you put on a piece of film score soundtrack to that huge pan-up shot of the
Hereditary.
Dude, when I went to the Dolomites soon after, I made sure that when I was like viewing massively sublime, beautiful, epic scenery, that was the actual soundtrack that I was listening to because of that.
It took on a different quality, because that in the film, that's like a really it's a spooky moment.
What's the piece and what's the film? Sorry,
Colin Stetson is the composer. And I think it's called Hail Payment, and Payment is a demon that kind of comes out at the end of that film, and it's meant to be beautiful and terrible at the same, the same time.
Stunning piece of music and a stunning.
But
image.
It worked. I'd seen it used a lot on kind of memes of like people having their mind blown. So I thought that's appropriate.
Top selection, mate.
Rep your ends.
Take us back to where you grew up, which is Hertfordshire, right? Tell us a bit about that place, what kind of clothes you'd expect to see people wearing there, and how much you think that place has rubbed off on you.
So, I grew up in Hemel Hempstead in Hertfordshire, a town not really known for too much other than it's got a ski centre, and there was a gas explosion there in 2006.
Were you there then?
I was at a sleepover. I slept through the explosion. Oh no, we've got a gold medalist gymnast now. I think, I think we've still got the gold railway sign. Home counties, so not far from London, but kind of too far in those days to kind of feel its influence.
Yeah.
Not the most open-minded place, I would say, in the sort of mid 2000s when I was kind of coming up. You'd go into town, and your town centre hasn't really changed. It's always had a JD, a JJB, a Sports Direct, and
the Holy Trinity.
Holy Trinity, yeah. And then eventually, a Top Man, a Top Shop. But there was that was it.
Yeah.
It didn't get like a H&M or whatever until many, many years later, until sort of the 2010s. So I think when I was sort of hitting puberty, I was trying to fit in kind of after my initial like AJ Soprano phase of like wearing like Slipknot tees and like fake JNCOs.
We've all been there, man.
Yeah. That kind of covered your feet and would like soak up puddles, and you had your Velcro wallet and all that. So once I kind of got out of that, I think that's when I really started caring about clothes. But I was trying to fit in, within the confines of those places. So like, I was trying to look like Jay-Z from the Dirt Off Your Shoulder video. So
what's that fit?
He was wearing a lot of dress shirts, like pinstripe.
Okay.
Big dress shirts with obviously like ice, and then like sort of acid wash denim, straight leg with like really white tennis shoes. Like trainers, like
so kind
Lacoste.
Of preppy influence, but still a bit ghetto fabulous at the same time.
Yes, yeah.
Watching, by the way, banger.
Yeah, so I'd sit and watch like MTV Base, and that's kind of who I wanted to kind of aspire to. But even then, I was trying to subvert it a little bit. So I'd wear like the pink polo, which kind of felt quite brave to be doing then.
Absolutely, pink was a statement in 2000.
You'd get some grief at school for wearing pink, but I felt like that guy when I was popping my collar.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, the options were like. Yeah, white trainers either with Velcro straps or lace ups.
So was school kind of defined by trying to fit in, but also trying to stand out
to a point,
stand out within the confines of within the realms of fitting inness.
I knew
out, but not too far.
I knew at that point that I wanted to fit in and not get bullied, but I knew I didn't want to like kind of dress like everyone else.
Did you get shit for how you dressed then?
Oh, totally. But like I rolled with it, and kind of I'd take the piss out of myself first as a defense, before anyone else could. Do you know what I mean? I was that kind of kid, really. So I didn't really have an ego. So yeah, that was that, and then it kind of indie came along, which was like quite a big influence.
Is that when Topshop really came into play?
Yeah, and I feel like I was the first kid in certainly my year to get skinny jeans.
Yeah,
and they were like grey, spray-on skinnies from Top Man, Watford, and some sort of fake like knockoff Vans with like paint on them, and you'd get those 2 for $10 t-shirts. Do you remember them? The V-neck.
I was going to say, how deep did you go V-neck wise?
Deep. And then you'd roll up the sleeves as well.
Show off your
so you'd have
string
like,
bean arms.
Yeah. And then like very kind of flicky, bouffanty do.
How are you doing chest hair wise?
Oh, I'm still almost bald.
Almost completely bald.
Yeah.
And at the time,
I was a late bloomer. I feel like I still am. I can't grow a beard.
But some people with a smooth face often erupt below the neckline. But those V-neck things, you were never sprouting like
hairless youth. No.
Did you ever have one of the Top Man t-shirts that was? And I think these are possibly the most offensive piece of item of clothing I've ever come across, but like jumpers with a sewn-in t-shirt neckline underneath.
No.
Oh man, super bad.
The baseball V-necks with that used to kind of have a couple of buttons.
Yeah.
They were the worst offenders for me. They're 2 for 10.
They're like
Henleys, but like also V-necks as well. And they were just really pushing them. They were pushing the 2 for 10.
Yeah.
And it was like a psyop. I was like, why am I? And you'd layer like 2 different colours up and then roll the sleeves.
Okay. Yeah, the sleeve roll was massive, man. Like, none of us had biceps back then as well.
Yeah.
But that's the look, I suppose, like skinny.
Yeah, to be kind of a waif.
Yeah.
Heroin chic.
Yeah.
But like very clean.
Very damaging, isn't it, for children? So London's where you live now?
Yeah, it's 2015. I moved to London on my 25th birthday.
Yeah, and obviously this is a massive metropolis. Like I don't know, I've been to a few cities around the world, probably none as big as London, but the variety and the kind of different places to tap into fashion-wise seems second to none to me.
Yeah.
Like, is that something that was a shock to you when you first moved here? You were into clothes at the time.
Like London was always, as I say, London was always the source, you know, for me as a kid growing up. But even though it was only half an hour away, it felt like, you know, miles and miles. And you'd get kids that would come in. You know, one of my best mates came from London and joined our school, and he basically brought new rave and like indie, and it kind of exploded, you know,
from that singularity, just like
he was like an alien kind of landing. And obviously like indie came, but also like to a lesser extent grime like would kind of seep out into the suburbs, to the home counties as well, and that was a big influence, not so much like on how I dress, but like, you know, on all our kind of attitudes and stuff.
Okay, so you were listening to BBK and dressing dandy.
Yeah.
Okay, I think
Bashy and Dizzy Rascal and
yeah, icons, man. Like, and looking back at the stuff that they were wearing then, it's still super informative of what. Like, I've been chatting to this guy in Leeds called Adam. He runs a super like specifically curated vintage shop where they sell pretty much Avrex leathers and a lot of like
they're so sought after now,
man. And that's what the grime videos were back then, like Dizzy and Avrex.
Yeah,
I think it gets referenced in 1,000,001 grime tunes. Like, you never felt the need to venture that route?
No. I was always kind of, like I say, like kind of preppy, soft, kind of hip hop influence. Never really grime. No.
Yeah. It sounds like when you describe the school where that's not something you look back on too fondly, the kind of Topshop 2 for £10 era. When was the first time that you really felt like you were finding your own feet with fashion?
It was around that time of kind of indie, you know, popping off, and like YouTube was just taking off around 2006.
So that really broadened the horizons of what you could draw on.
Yeah. And I was really digging into, I'd been a Bowie fan since I was like 11 years old, and he was a massive influence on me, especially with like pushing boundaries and subverting stuff and being bold and being kind of fearless. I think it did rub off on me quite a lot. I think around that time I was doing a lot of sort of thrifting, I guess, charity shopping.
Yeah.
We called it then.
Yeah.
Occasional kind of runs into London to sort of Camden Town, like, because that's all you knew about London. You know, you didn't even know about Brick Lane, really. You'd kind of go to Camden.
I think when I visited London for the first time, that was where I went. It was the one you'd heard of. And if you were at all like an alternative kid, you knew that you could get band t-shirts, kind of shit.
But it was good then.
Is it not now?
I don't know. I feel like maybe you kind of outgrow that level of like vintage. I think it was more exciting then. I got some crazy stuff there that I don't think you could necessarily find now. One thing that springs to mind is a satin bomber jacket in sort of blood red with like a ninja on the back.
Wow.
Yeah, like a proper Mortal Kombat.
Have you still got it?
No. You know, you have these times where you just I don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
You don't appreciate, you know, what you're kind of letting go of, or like that was a time in your life. But it was very Vince Noir inspired, Mighty Boosh.
Right, okay. He's flamboyant and
yeah. So I was pretty much a Lidl Vince Noir at that point.
Okay.
I had a mullet with like a blonde highlights in, and had that bomber jacket with like dead skinny jeans and like Chelsea boots or like Beetle boots.
I bet you looked incredible.
I do, yeah. Some of those pictures, I'm like, yeah, that stands up.
Yeah. I don't want to gloss over this mod influence thing, because I find it interesting. I tried being a mod for about maybe 6 months or something like that. I got the fringe.
Yeah.
I got aquascutum trench coat that turned out to be cursed.
Yeah.
But it didn't really fit for me. But one thing I did really feel in that scene was an affinity from other men. I remember being out on the street in Liverpool, like turned up, drain pipe jeans. I think I had a red cashmere sweater on, an aquascutum trench, and I remember these two other guys coming up the street who were more obviously than me mods, just stopping and going, mate, you look fucking incredible.
Yeah,
you look
right.
really, really good. And honestly, I glowed for a month after it. And I think there's something about the mod thing specifically.
Bit of camaraderie, yeah.
And I think it causes men to congratulate other men at a time where they probably wouldn't have done that.
No.
Or like engage on them on an aesthetic level.
But that bleeds into casual as well.
Yeah.
You know.
It does. It does.
Massively, from like trainers to sort of CP and stony jackets and things like that.
It feels good though, doesn't it?
It does. Sometimes it's kind of furtive, you know, it's like you don't want to come out and just compliment someone, but other times. I know what you mean though, and I'd never really experienced that either.
Did you not?
No. No one was into clothes really like that. I think in my small group at school we got quite into it, but
so what was the mod era for you? How did that look? Because it's quite a broad church.
There's a standard kind of uniform of like the Paul Weller haircut, the Parker, like a Fred Perry or like a Bet Sherman or something like that. I tried to mix it with a few different influences. I went like I got a suit, but I went quite deep into tailoring and stuff, and a period tailoring as well. So that I got a Hardy Amy's suit, and Hardy Amy's. No, it was again, it was eBay.
Yeah.
Must have been a 3-piece for 50 quid, and proper wool suit, and it just had the sharpest front sort of crease pleat. Quite short, probably shorter than it should have been, but like I wore them with like Chelsea boots, and it worked. Sort of shoulder pad action as well, but apparently, and then I showed it to my dad or my stepmom at the time, and she said, "Oh, I know Hardy Amy's. He used to make dresses for the Queen," or like, and I learned it was like a bit
heritage
an established,
brand.
Established designer.
So you mentioned your dad there. Like I get the impression that he's a well-dressed dad.
He is.
And what does he wear, and how much of an influence has he had on you?
Yeah, so early on, when I was quite young, I just remember like really baggy white tracksuit, tracksuit pants.
This is what he was wearing, or what you were wearing, sorry?
He was wearing.
Yeah.
Like stuff he would wear to squash.
Right.
Kind of stands out. So like a big fleece with like baggy tracksuit bottoms, and Nike infrared.
Okay.
Air Max 90s,
Mad.
which I just thought were like
futuristic.
Mad. Like Ned Flanders' assassin shoes in The Simpsons. It was like, psh, psh, psh. I just used to covet those, and I'd squeeze into them. I'd can't try and put them on even when they were 2 sizes too big for me. But yeah, I was obsessed with those.
I think those trainers in particular looked just like they were beamed in from another dimension in 100 years in the future.
1990 when they came out.
Nuts, dude, they looked so busy.
Born.
Wow. Man, that's pretty. I imagine if you still had them now.
Well, I've got my own pair from what I got from when I was at uni, and they're just my beaters now. I drive in those.
Yeah,
they're super, super comfy for driving in. So that's what I remember him. His sort of like, gym squash kit, and then sort of like collarless, very 90s looks of like collarless shirts with like waistcoats and things like that. But then I think it's fair to say he had some fallow years between kind of my idealised version of him when growing up.
When you're dadding full time, like you can't really cope, can you?
For sure. And then sort of in middle age, he's like massively got back into his gear again.
Why not, man? If you got it's first time in your life, you've probably got a bit of decent dough.
That's it.
And you've got the time, like, look, fly.
And now we talk about it a lot, you know.
So what does he wear these days?
A lot of sort of Barber jackets, R.M. Williams, like Blundstones, things like that. He's a landscaper, so he wears a lot of practical gear.
Yeah.
He's in better shape than me, so he's very rugged looking bloke.
Yeah, it looks great. I've seen a few pictures when you've posted. How similar are you in sizes? Like, are you going to inherit?
He's a little bit shorter than me, and but I used to borrow his shoes a lot. I used to nick his shoes. I mean, he'd have these like single strap, like blood red monk shoes. Oxblood, with kind of brogue detail, and I'd wear those to school.
Sick, man.
With like either my suit and tie, and with an overcoat, army surplus overcoat over the top, and that was like my mod look.
Yeah.
You know?
And was your dad influenced by the mod scene himself?
No, I really wanted him to come out with some. I think it was slightly.
Kinks album I bought in 1965. I think because
he was 1955. I think it was slightly before his time.
Yeah.
Not by much, but like, I think he was sort of going into the discos and the almost like Northern Soul.
That's
but I don't think
interesting fashion choices there as well.
Yeah.
That's not me.
So you, Luke, have been a dedicated fashion fan for a long time. I've seen you post about copying stuff recently, and I think I'm referring specifically here to the Nanamika. Do you say Nanamika or Nanamika?
Nanamika, yeah.
Nanamika Gore-Tex coat that you've got on there. You've had your eye on for literally 10 years. It's been on your Pinterest board. What's the biggest kind of fashion fail era for you? Because it sounds like the mod thing worked and was dead exciting. Is there anything you look back on other than your AJ Soprano era?
I mean, there's always going to be those, you know, eras the blunder years that you look back on and go, yeah, what was I thinking? But like, it's not something you regret. You kind of have to go.
It's all part of the curve.
Exactly, you have to go through that. And there are things that spring to mind, like wearing cowboy boots to school was probably like as bold as it got.
So where did you get your cowboy boots from? Is this an eBay?
I went through like a few pairs to get it right. I don't know what I had in my mind, but it was very much Vince Noir influence kind of.
What kind of heel?
Cuban heel.
Yeah?
Yeah. There was a picture of Bowie that I had stuck on my wall where he's got this like short cropped bomber jacket with a fur collar and these like skinny jeans and like two studded belts. And he's just like hitting that pose, and I thought that's the coolest shit ever. I want to recreate that. So that I think that was my main, pin before Pinterest.
It's amazing how mindful you were of like creating fashion at the time. I don't think there's many 16, 17, 18-year-old kids that had put the specific time into curating, putting something
Depends
together.
Who you're into. Like if you are into David Bowie and he is your hero, your icon, that's gonna rub off on you.
Yeah, man.
And then like later it was like post-punk or sort of Iggy Pop or Richard Hell and the Voidoids, and I got in a fit of like kind of like punk rebellion, just like shaved the side of my head for no reason. It looked like absolute shit. I looked like I was having an operation. Oh, man.
Lobotomy style.
Yeah. I'd wear like a Crombie coat and DMs and stuff like that. But no, like
it's all been part of the same experimental trajectory, really, rather than a kind of blunder.
No fails. I think, like looking back through what I wore at uni, like I'd just be wearing very practical stuff to kind of go raving in. Basically, I'd just wear like Air Maxes and sort of fitted snapbacks.
Still pretty cool, man.
Yeah. And like size was like I'd go in size and just want everything.
Big up them guys.
I know. Hold tight, my employer. Yeah.
Let's chat about eBay a little bit. Have we chatted about looking at the dates, joined in on eBay? I think mine's 2004. I think I've been a member since 2004.
You've got a few years on me then.
Well, I've got a few years on you age-wise, so it's not quite exact science.
So I must have joined eBay in 2007, and I was just on a rampage.
Man.
I think I wanted to be like an eBay seller. Like I wanted my own sort of vintage store.
My first foray into it was selling Abercrombie and Fitch coats that I imported wholesale from America. I got a job lot of like 8
Wow.
and sold them, and it felt great.
A proper hustle then.
I think I might have done 2 batches where I imported and made a little bit, but not enough to justify the time and effort of doing it.
Yeah.
But eBay, for a fashion conscious and fashion curious teenager at the time, was like just a playground. I remember buying Spurs off. It's similar to your cowboy boots. I bought the brass Spurs. I didn't have any cowboy boots, so I used to wear them on the back of Adidas like basketball trainers for college, man. Like outrageous looks, like completely. You just trying shit at that age, but I think the breadth of stuff that was available to you after only living in a small town was just exciting to me. Did you feel similar to that, like worlds opening up in front of you?
100%. Going into Camden and digging through, you know, vintage shops and stuff like that was eye opening. But even stuff I'd find in town in the charity shops was just like, you know, I think I bought go on, a lederhosen hat, like a proper Austrian with the badges and everything, nice feather. But I kind of wore it at a rakish angle, kind of like, you know. There
was quite an era of like rakishly angled trilbies and hats,
kind of pre like neckbeard, you know, when trilbies were trilbies were cool. I still had a little bit of
I'm fair. I think I had a tweed one actually.
That's
probably an era I'd rather forget.
A pork pie hat, like a straw pork pie hat I had.
I got a pork pie hat made to size off a woman on eBay called Jill something. I've still got it at home. It's beautifully made. I paid like 50 quid for a bespokely measured tan leather pork pie hat. Definitely Brad Pitt and Snatch inspired. Is there any item of clothing that you wore as a kid or a teenager that you'd still wear now? Is there anything that's just transcended the ages?
Literally, this two-tool scarf formed the basis of a lot of my kind of modern skinhead looks. And this was given to me by a good friend's mum, who's no longer with us. So I think it's also got that sort of sentimental attachment as well. But it's just quality. Like you wouldn't know. I don't know how old it is, but
Silk,
two-tool, which was of course like quite a big kind of mod.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
So what, if you had that for like 15 years maybe?
Yeah, probably like 2008, 2007.
It's good to live with things for that long. They like become a part of you.
Yeah, I think it goes with the kind of needles look as well.
For real, man. Fire fit.
Thank you.
I love
I wasn't sure about the jacket. I kept it on its hanger with the tags
the labels.
on
I've done that with needles as
because like it was a small and it was the only one they had left. So I was like, I wasn't convinced that it fit me properly. I was like, to the uninitiated, it might look like I've got a Claire's Accessories voucher for Christmas, or you know, I've gone to Monkey or something. But of course, our eyes are trained.
Indeed,
and, we know better.
We've seen that. I
think it's got enough detail on it to kind of, you know, these pleats.
The pleats are the one, man.
And I don't usually go for stuff that's like either pre-distressed or pre-customized, but I've started to, you know, add my little flourishes to it. Yeah, I got my little badge. A little industry joke for you there.
What's this say?
A good pun is its own reward.
Okay.
Reword.
You're the pun master, mate.
Yeah.
Having been fully into, would you describe yourself as into clothes?
Yeah.
I think you are. I am. For more than a decade, can you tell me and some of our younger listeners a little bit about the kind of pre-Insta online spaces that inspired you and that you were part of as a youth?
I guess you're talking sort of, early Instagram before it was, you know, before the explore page was a thing, certainly. And you'd have to really like discover people, you know, to find those kind of hobbyists and people blogging and things like that. But I was doing a lot of kind of digging every day on various blogs. 4pins was a massive one that I'd check into.
So this is something I've heard people reference, but I never did that at that time. Like, what was 4pins?
I think Lawrence from Throwing Fits ran it.
Okay.
And would occasionally write blog posts, but there was like a team of writers. There was one guy called John Moy who would kind of make every kind of blog post about an item of clothing into a story, you know, romanticize it in a way that I just absolutely loved. In the same way that like Oi Polloi makes these like deck outs and gives them a story and puts a character behind them, which I love all that. And I feel like I try and emulate that now in what I do when I kind of write about stuff. It's rare that I just buy something just because. There's always like a reason or a story behind it. Blogs like 4Pins, High Snobiety and Hypebeast to a lesser extent, just for kind of news and commentary. I thought the chat rooms on there, the comment sections on there were like wild, toxic, and like every post had like 30 comments on it, and it was just people like shitting on each other.
Yeah,
and that was just entertaining, but also just to keep across the kind of broad.
Were you
fashion
a
stuff.
comment space lurker? Or
Absolutely a lurker. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not someone that gets into the fray because
it hurts you, affects you.
Yeah, I'm too soft. Yeah, Reddit, not so much. I didn't get onto the sort of male fashion advice stuff. That was very like, did you ever frequent that space?
No, I think I have seen male fashion advice as a thing. Maybe it's popped up when I've done searches.
It was all like APC jeans.
Yeah.
Common projects were just like, the thing. If you had a pair of common projects, you were like that guy.
Yeah, there's Sam Smithy looking ones in it.
Well, they've just been copied so many times now. They just look like low profile, smart leather trainers, and they were well made, but like they're kind of boring. Just hyped. So yeah, that sort of thing. But then digging a bit deeper, I was looking at kind of lookbooks for independent stores. I think were really influential. So I mentioned Oi Polloi.
Yeah, the copy on there particularly is it's so stylized. You know it instantly.
Yeah, it's something I've always tried to emulate a little bit. Stylized, as you say, and relaxed and funny as well. And kind of talks about clothes in a very self-aware, I guess, kind of way.
Because it does run the risk of becoming pretty self-indulgent, just fucking boring, to be honest. Like sometimes it's just, talking about fabrics and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Whilst it might be excitable to a minority, most people don't want to hear it, do they?
Yeah, blokes that like dressing up. I think that's how they described it a few years ago. It's just like that slightly furtive kind of like. So those sorts of like lookbooks and staff looks, I think, were a big thing, and then. Even deeper down the iceberg, it was like going onto the Beams Japan website and going on the staff's looks, because that was like looking into the future, and I'd just be pinning like every other look.
Because that's what you did on Pinterest, is it? I've never been a Pinterester, but I know you do things on it.
I was massively into it, like sort of 2014, 15, I'd be pinning like 100 plus things per season, and that's just slowed right down as I get older, and you start to get the things that you've been coveting all those years, and like it's like I don't want for as much as I used to.
So the first few things that you mentioned were quite word based. Instagram's obviously a very visual platform, as a lot of the other social media ones at the moment, but your copy is something that's always stood out to me. Your job, you do that kind of thing. Go on, tell us a bit about that. Yeah,
so I'm a copywriter and advertising creative. So the captions for me are just like, it's practice. I don't get to write like that in my day job, so it's just like a bit of an outlet really for me. And it's more than that. It's a way to hone my, I guess, short form storytelling as well, because you can't go. I write long captions, but I'm writing about sometimes like trips that are over several days. I'm kind of writing a short like journal. So brevity, but keeping it kind of exciting is something I always strive for. But I think being part of working in advertising, I think has helped a lot with once brands start getting involved, and knowing your worth, knowing like how much things cost, and just knowing the language, and, about deliverables and just like, usage rights and things like that. Things that, a lot of these brands are approaching kids that don't, haven't worked in this area or have never done any kind of brand work before. And they take advantage sometimes, Why wouldn't you try and get someone to kind of do something for free? If you feel you have that power as a brand. But I think it's helped me a little bit to kind of, and don't get me wrong, I've done stuff for less than I should, or like, you know what I mean? I don't think I've been taken advantage of by any, Yeah, you certainly, once they first start getting in contact, you get a little bit, not starstruck, but like flattered, yeah, and you'll do anything.
Yeah.
But I think it's certainly helped my job to kind of know what you're dealing with in terms of like shoots and stuff like that. You know, that Urban Outfitters job that I did was like a proper, you know, I felt like I produced it, you know, at the end of the day.
I think that's the thing with content creators. You are doing the job of what would have been 6 people, a crew.
Precisely.
And you're, you know, if you can pass that saving on, if you can do it for half the price that it costs the crew, you should be still getting paid a decent whack for it. Mm-hmm. I think you're the total package. You know, you've the copy that you write, it's got your own voice in it. It's authentically you, and it just works. It's dead buyable into, I suppose. Like, everyone get in touch with Luke, line his pockets.
Thank you. I do it for myself almost. Like to me, if like if one person reads the whole thing, the whole caption, or like engages with it and comments on it, that's great. My favourite thing about all of this is chatting to people still. Oh, that's nice. It is, and like nerding out over the clothes or whatever, whether it's the outdoor stuff, the kit. If no one engages, you know, if no one talks to you, you're just shouting into the abyss, aren't you?
Yeah, and it becomes a little bit sad, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Top 3 selected.
You probably gathered now that I'm a bit of a list nerd.
Yeah,
when you were on Trees and Nylon, I was asking you for a top 3 MCs, I think. I'm going to ask you for another top 3 now.
Yeah.
Who are your top 3 best dressed internet fashion geeks? And I mean geeks in the kind of loveliest way possible.
Term of endearment. The first guy springs to mind is Mr. Mordecai Rubenstein.
I think he's been a Throwing Fits guest at some point.
He has.
Maybe.
I'm not sure his precise background. I know he was like a photographer at Pitti at one time. I've seen some old pictures of him. He's been like a stylist or a consultant on Uncut Gems, but like a typical fit from him would be like a real primary coloured sort of, or like candy coloured Patagonia, snap fleece, whatever, with like a dress shirt and a tie underneath and like a beanie, and then, you know, some sort of voluminous pants and some Birkenstocks or something like that. Just, I love people that are just so confident in themselves and like absolutely like they love this shit. You can tell they chew your ear off about anything that they're wearing, and I love that. And
drawing influence from disparate influences, I guess.
Or just having their own style that is uniquely theirs. Like I can't think of anyone else that dresses like this guy.
Yeah.
And everything that he posts is like a bit of a surprise, you know. That's very joyful, and it's kind of eccentric in the best way. Like it's something that I aspire to, I think.
But does it always, you know, though it's a surprise, does it always seem authentically him?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's move on to your next one. Who else have you got for us?
It's got to be Nigel Caborn, for sure.
Legend.
Yeah, massive legend. I've had a couple of opportunities to meet him in the flesh when I worked at Ted Baker. He used to come in because he was quite matey with the former boss there. And but I was always too just like shook to say hello. He was a very big, gregarious character.
Yeah, it seems it.
But I felt like no one else in the office at that time knew who he was, and I felt he would have appreciated it if I'd have said hello. But, you know, he obviously wears all his own clothes, and it's so, you know, his silhouette is like, you know,
iconic and super influential as well. Like, you know, we've talked about Japan always being futuristic, but the kids, it feels to me like a lot of the coolest kids in Japan are kind of dressing like Nigel Caborn was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, for a guy who's in his 70s maybe,
got to be,
to have that kind of influence on it, one of the coolest youth cultures in the world is pretty fucking cool.
But it's the shapes and the proportions of the stuff that he wears, because a lot of people, there is a kind of a genre of bloke that will just wear kind of milsurp, like kind of real McCoys type stuff, workwear, Buzz Ricksons.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking that stuff at all. I think it's great. But like that's one way of looking at kind of, you know, heritage workwear and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He takes it and he's plays with the proportions a bit more, and like his silhouette is so like.
I mean, you talk about silhouette, you probably could recognise him from an actual
This is
silhouette
what I mean.
on the wall.
Like I, literally, yeah.
Yeah.
From like, you know, the baggy pants with the big tweeny shoes.
Yeah.
You know, and the kind of flipped up cap. I think he's awesome.
Well, this is shaping up to be quite a top three at the moment. Who are you going to cap it off with?
A guy that I know less about, probably have less to say about. He was a consultant, I think, at Reebok for many years, and then has recently moved to Levi's. But I think his name's Leo Gamboa. Leoneski.
Okay.
Is his handle.
Yeah.
He doesn't post an awful lot.
Okay.
And he was never like, I'm out here, look at my fits type guy. He was like, I don't know, not even a mood board, just like good taste, bit of a tastemaker, I would say. And he like put me onto brands that I didn't know existed, like Montbell, you know, going back to like 2017, 2018. So I think he's like a design consultant, or kind of he works on special projects at brands like that. So he'll do the collaboration stuff.
Sick top three, man. Definitive. Loved it.
Yeah.
I'd like to touch a little bit on the art of copying gear. Some of my favourite brands aren't really at a price point, or weren't really at a price point that I could afford on as regular a basis as my compulsions would like them to be. How do you buy most of your clothes? What do the different like modes of shopping online, secondhand, vintage, like in shop, how do they affect how you feel about the clothes?
I wouldn't say I've ever bought something secondhand and thought it's lesser because of it, you know. In fact, if I can buy something like, I bought a pair of New Balance like not that long ago that were like, he'd not mistreated them, but like he'd worn them a bit, you know, and they could have used a bit of a wipe down. But once I gave him a brush and they were good as new, but he listed them for like, I don't know, like 75 quid. And these were like £140 shoes.
Yeah.
But he must have worn them a couple of times. And I thought, that's the result.
Old black 990s?
Yes, 980s. The kind of the lesser known kind of made in US. So I always kind of see like eBay bargains as like a bit of a win for sure. I quite enjoy getting something for a good price.
Same.
It's very rare that I'll pay full price in store. Like this was like 50% off.
Yeah.
And it just felt like kind of, it was the last one. It was too good. And they were giving me the whole sales pitch sort of thing. It's robbing Peter to pay Paul, I think, a lot of it. It's like, you know, you have kind of a stock of stuff that you've accumulated over the years, and you just kind of, you sell things to fund new things. And
does it feel good to you, the art of the flip? I mean, like, obviously you wear it for a bit and then you sell it for the same price that you bought it for. That's the result, isn't it? You feel like you've got a free clothes.
And it's a reason to buy good stuff because it retains its value.
It really does. And if you're a forward-looking person that does their research, you can often buy something and then flip it for more than it was because, you know, you're ahead of the curve.
Yeah. I did that with a pair of Danas. That's probably the best. The thing I snapped up was like, someone put a pair of Dana lights on eBay and didn't know what model it was. So they kind of listed it wrong. And it just said like Dana boots. And I found them and they'd left the insole in, Superfeet insoles.
Okay.
So it said Dana Superfeet. So someone had just gone, I don't know, that must be it. And they went on, they must have gone under the radar because I snapped them up for 70 quid. And these are £360 boots. They never fit right. They hurt. They killed my Achilles. And it like pains me to have let them go. But
moved them on for more than you bought them for.
100%.
Just wrote it. Oil Lukey style description.
On Instagram as well.
Yeah.
I've done a few like story sales.
Yeah.
And they go like...
So you enjoy the eBay part of it? That's a bit of a buzz, the kind of...
Yeah, I feel like the Depop is like just full of disrespectful kids that just like lowball you and, you know, like it's quite toxic. Like everyone's quite heated, you know, from the jump.
Depot drama, man.
Yeah, maybe that's it. They're trying to get on there, but I've not got into some sort of, you know, altercations, but
Yeah, never sent anything purposefully sullied to a buyer.
Rude and like blunt sometimes.
Okay, I've not experienced this. I've used Depop quite a lot, and I've not been burned. Touch wood.
But also people not following through on
man,
stuff, which is annoying. But that happens everywhere. And then Grailed is like just a bit of a dead platform.
Okay.
I don't think like nothing moves on there. I've never really sold anything on there.
I've certainly not bought off there. I've looked.
Bought off there.
Yeah.
Got some good stuff off there.
Yeah.
Hockers, bought some tours off there. Engineer garment stuff. But to sell, I think because it's very US based.
And let's just talk a little tiny bit more about the kind of in-store retail experience, because it's something I'd like to do more. I keep telling myself, stop buying stuff on the internet, go and try it on and see if you want it. Like,
yeah.
Is that something you like? What percentage of your clothes would you say are in-store compared to online purchases?
Wow. Like less than 10%, I think.
I'd say probably not dissimilar. A lot of the stuff that I get off the internet, I think if I tried it on in a shop, I wouldn't buy it. And I think that's probably problematic.
I think it depends on the level of investment you're talking about. Because like these, I got them from Stewart's London. And
The shoes?
the para boots. And even at the time, they were like nearly 300 quid. And I'd saved for them. And but they were so great in there. Like really like talked me through it and, you know, sort of told me about the potential pitfalls and stuff like that. And then I bought them, took them away, wore them for a week. I was like, these are like boats, they're too big. And they let me take them back because they understood that like I can't commit to these.
Yeah.
I can't commit to paying nearly 300 quid. And they let me get the next size. But
that's the kind of...
That's the difference.
Yeah, you can't put a price on that kind of service, can you, really? And it is nice. It's nice connecting with a human being, especially people, you know, independent sellers that are really passionate about selling to people they care about.
And they're disappearing as well.
Yeah, need to support, man. Maybe when I'm incredibly rich, I'll just go in shops and start peeling off fucking bills. So now you're in the position of being given clothes by some brands. I always like balk at the term gifted. It sounds really clunky.
Yeah, I mean, by law, you know, it's not law, but it's policy. You have to put it on posts.
Okay.
People think, I don't think people know that. People think that you're just going #gifted to flex or like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, it can get your account compromised, you know,
Wow.
if you don't do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know that at all. I kind of knew that people did it, but I didn't know who you're answering to legally. You're not going to get sacked from your own self, are you? Like
No, but I don't. I feel like I'm on the edge with Instagram.
Okay.
I might get banned.
But how does the gifting aspect of receiving clothes for free affect how you feel about them? Do you feel they're more disposable, or do you feel like really lucky to have them?
Yeah,
it's a mixture, I'm assuming.
It's obviously like a really privileged position to be in, and like not everyone gets this. And I'm not going to sit here and knock it because, of course, like, you know, anyone in my position would probably be like, yeah. And obviously, I'm grateful. But yeah, I think there's something to be said that too much of it can devalue what you already have, maybe. Because I feel like I've always kept quite an edited wardrobe and never had too much stuff. So that's something I'm getting used to. Suddenly just having an influx of gear. Because I like to have a reason to own. Like I don't like having multiples of things. I just kind of want each piece to do its job. Or
is that for your
filler? Mental
clarity? Like,
I think so, but also just not being, because I think once you open it up to having, I need 3 of this, then it's almost having control over your spending, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Being like, I don't need 3 shells, or like, I don't need, you know.
Yeah, I think it's something that if you've got mates that are the same size and you can give stuff away to them.
Exactly. I mean, I like to spread it around.
Yeah. Let's have a little chat about the great outdoors, because I know that's a massive part of your life and it's part of my life. How important is it to you, and especially in terms of kind of getting your head in a good position? Because I know that's something you've been quite open about.
Yeah, it's become a bit of a crutch, really. It's almost like I need to do it every few weeks, especially living in town. I've never really, it does get me down the city, I think, especially in winter, and I do need to escape. But there isn't a cure-all. You don't. Even sometimes I'll be coming down off the hills and it's like I'm slipping back into either negative thoughts or anxiety about the next day or whatever, and it's like
even on the way back when you're still on the adventure.
Exactly. I feel like because it's when you're out there, you're only thinking about, not staying alive. That's too dramatic, but kind of your little tasks that you have to do to be comfortable and like eat and stay warm and all that kind of stuff. So you're not actually thinking about anything else. But
that's really clarifying, isn't it? That's really cleansing, having 100%. A direct purpose.
Yeah. Back to basics. And I found myself just, getting the fear on the way down off the hills, because I'm now like, I'm safe again or whatever. But yeah, like I say, it's not a cure-all. I kind of think of mental health as holistically, like you've got to do a few different things. It's like diet and exercise and hobbies and sleep and maintaining friendships and all these things that you need to do to be happy, but you've still got to do the work. And that means therapy or CBT or like self-help, whatever it may be. And I've tried it. I've tried the CBT, the kind of talking therapy or like writing a journal, things like that, years and years ago. I didn't get on with it too well. But you can't rely on any one thing too much, because when it goes, you're kind of in trouble. So like I can't just be like, I need hiking to stay sane.
I heard about the therapy where you do the eye movement thing whilst you recount traumatic experiences of your past. Have you heard of that?
Not heard of that, no.
So a therapist will talk you through a traumatic experience in your life and move something in front of your eyes side to side. And the act of that is meant to help you process your traumatic experiences. Sounds a little bit spurious, but I've heard it from very good sources that it works.
Yeah.
And I've heard also that left to right flickering of your eyes kind of mimics what you do on a walk. So when you are out doing a hike or something like that, you're doing a lot of left to right and right to left eye movement, which I think is specifically good for, especially if you're on that walk with someone that you might be discussing some mental health issue with. It might have a double kind of impactful.
Yeah.
You've got the exercise, you've got the camaraderie, and you've also got this quite physiological healing going on. So might be worth having a little look into.
That sounds interesting.
Next hype.
Have you got your eye on anything in particular at the moment?
No, I feel like I've ticked off like a lot of the grails.
Yeah, that's a good place to be.
Like I was saying about the Pinterest, it's gradually got smaller and smaller, which is, that's a good thing. Pain comes from wanting, as they say, like to get all Buddhist on you. But, I want less and less stuff.
Does that feel good to want less?
Yeah, of course. And it's true, just like, coveting stuff is not good for you.
Yeah. I don't mean to have more. I mean, to want less must be quite a nice place to be in. Big up, man. Long may the not longing for more stuff continue.
The wardrobe will only get more edited. No, there's a couple of things, I think I'd like to get back into like my menswear roots, get a suit again.
Yeah.
But then the thing is, there's kind of no place for it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't wear it to work.
Yeah.
When am I going to wear
Have you had wedding season with your mates yet?
The one, yeah. And I didn't, at the time I was too skint to, really to splash on anything.
Yeah.
I think I bought like a blazer from Jigsaw and some like Uniqlo sort of, suit pants. GH Bass loafers and just a shirt. But yeah, no, not back-to-back weddings, just the one.
It probably sounds like you've got a glut to come, because I found a very specific time in my life where it was like no weddings, then all of a sudden consecutive weekends.
Yeah.
And I think if you make sure you've got your suit pot ready to go, then you're going to have a fly suit when your wedding season comes around.
I think the next thing is like I'm big into like all the Drake stuff.
Man, that's very much menswear, isn't it?
It's menswear, but it's kind of, I don't want to say casual. It's like it's dressed down. It's elegant, but it's super dressed down. The suits are cotton, and you got Oxford shirts, and they'll wear fleeces, and it's this kind of stuff. You've like paisley silk scarves and silk ties, and
I'm looking forward to fit pics and accompanying captions when you.
It's like I play around with like Ivy style stuff now and again, but I don't have too much of it. Like I've got this like jungle jacket, the Vietnam jacket. It's not an M65, but it's good. The one with the slanted pocket. Yeah. And I'd love to wear that with like a sort of proper smart Oxford with a nice sort of Windsor knot paisley tie. There's definitely an Armé Leon Dore influence as well, I think.
Yeah, they don't often go into the sale, do they?
Nah. I thought all that Drake's collab stuff was cool, but it was very Partridge. Did you see it?
Drake's ALD?
Yeah.
Right.
Double-breasted, like, blazers with, like, stripy...
Yeah, photo shoots for that was so sick.
Tie and blazer badge set.
Those big, like, high-lofted New York apartments with, like, an artfully placed American football and a piano. The shots were class. So you have a pretty timeless style, Luke, and I know you actively buy with longevity in mind. What do you see yourself wearing over the next 3-4 decades?
3-4 decades. I'd like to get progressively more like eccentric, but as we were saying with my dad, practicality is going to come into it.
Yeah.
And, if I have kids, it's like I'm not going to be wearing a mohair equals carnage, do you know what I mean? And
clean and vomit our mohair is not the
vomit
one.
And porridge and whatever and snot in it. I feel like the stuff that for the most part, it's hard wearing for sure. Like even the engineered garment stuff, feels like you're wearing body armour sometimes.
That's super interesting that you want to get more eccentric though, because obviously the normal trajectory is to become more conservative as you get older.
Well, yeah. I don't know. Those sort of blokes that are like Al Pacino age, and they suddenly get these like big, thick rimmed spectacles.
How is your eyesight?
Not great. I lost my glasses in the.
I've seen you in glasses actually.
Yeah.
The wire rimmed round ones. Gutted, man. They were lovely.
That's my second pair in 2 years.
Okay, well maybe it's time for the Al Pacino heavy frames.
Yeah, I kind of want to evolve into that guy. There's a writer called David Sedaris. Do you know him?
I don't.
He's an American humorist.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of wanky title, but like he's very funny. He writes sort of short stories and stuff. But he's a massive Capital fan.
Okay.
I feel like that's something I could,
lean into.
Sick,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I think you can get away with a lot more when you're older because, like, you get judged less, don't you? What's anyone going to say? Like, you might as well lean into your passions. And I think, generally you get a bit richer when you're older. Fingers crossed, like, I don't know, fuck knows what's going to happen with us. Like, we'll probably be trying to buy houses when we're 60 instead of buying Capital sweatshirts. But final question I've got for you, Luke, is currently, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you care about clothes?
Too much. I would call it a bit of a curse, really, in the sense that you're just like always on. You just like you never stop scanning like a T1000. Just kind of like not even like appraising people's clothes like that. It's not like that. It's just you're sort of interested and intrigued about why they chose that, or like what made that man wear sort of tan square-toed slip-on loafers from Shoe Zone. Like what?
Everyone does have the reasons though. I always find that endlessly fascinating. Like people don't buy things because they don't know. They actively make those decisions to buy things, and I find that everyone's kind of got the reasons for dressing how they do, and I think that's dead interesting.
Yeah, but I think Kanye said something like a few years ago, I want to get down on the floor and sort out everyone's trouser leg. I was like, I felt that. Do you know what I mean? You just want to kind of fix.
Yeah.
Do little styling changes to improve someone's.
Yeah.
Just little small things you could do.
So obviously you care too much. Do you not have down times? Like I'm kind of imagining that when you're at home, you've got beautiful camber tracksuit. Like, that's your downtime. I have times when I look like I'm not saying I look amazing all the time, but I definitely have times where I do not give a fuck. Like, if I was to give you a number, I'd probably say 8.5. Are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna say 8, because you don't want it to be your entire personality. You know,
No,
it would be easy to.
Yeah.
It would be easy to do, but considering I don't work directly in fashion, it's like I feel like it has to be that. It's not my life, but yeah, forms a big part of me.
Well, it's been boss speaking to you, dude. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I've got a load of things to look up on Google, which I'll do later on when I edit the episode. Thanks a million for coming on.
Thanks for having me, mate. Cheers.
Oh, totally buzzed off that one. Luke is a ledge. Big thanks to him for coming on. Big thanks to you lot for listening. And a big shout out this week to my musical contributors, Oscar Kenny and Sam Black. If you like the tunes we use here on My Own Garms, get onto these guys. Oscar is OscarGram with about 20 underscores, and Sam Black is at samblack.jpg. That is a wrap for this ep. We will see you on the next one.
Social skills and I got tickets. Hit me. Trust me, it feels amazing. Strangers. Oh, I care so much about strangers.